the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. This one should be just hella fun in every way, shape, or form. This one opened at -1.5 over at Circa and Pinnacle. I think Bookmaker opened with a 1, and now it's a 1.5 or 2 really in the market. So we make it a pick 'em. Really no edge on either side from our perspective. So gonna be geeking out fans for the most part. At least I am personally. But Steve, I don't know if you have any other action on this, or what is your general feeling going into this game for how this script plays?
Yeah, I mean, call me crazy, but I think this is, and we gonna sound like a broken record here, but I think this is the year Buffalo gets through. I mean, this is a Buffalo team that has looked the strongest in the most unconventional way, right? I mean, we've talked about this team, not really having a star, receiver number one ever since the Diggs departure, but and they've been doing well between Coleman, Hollins, and Cooper, and everyone else. And they haven't been beating themselves. Their defense definitely leaves some stuff to be desired, but they're doing enough, right? They're forcing the fumbles, they're winning the turnover battle. And quite frankly, yes, Chiefs are a team that don't beat themselves either. And so that's why I think this is going to be a damn tight game. But the Chiefs have been a team that have looked extremely suspect throughout this year, but they've done enough to win. I don't know that the Bills or the Chiefs have enough here to get through. Now, I'll tell you this from betting standpoint, I have not touched this. I'm glad that there is kind of no value here because as a fan, I just want to thoroughly enjoy this game. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be the one I'm getting my popcorn ready.
Yeah, Steve, to your point, real quick, the Chiefs take care of business, they handle it, whatever. 0 turnovers from the Chiefs in the last 8 games, which is the longest streak in the Super Bowl era.
They don't make mistakes.
They don't make mistakes. They play good ball. And again, Mahomes, baby. Mahomes is inevitable, right?
It feels like it. The data do not support that he's inevitable, which is more data that he is inevitable. Buffalo, 11.1 points better than an average team. Kansas City, only 3.3 points better than an average offensive team. Sorry. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Kansas City's defense isn't what it was. I mean, even after that game, they've dropped a bunch. Negative 0.3 points better than an average team. So just basically right at average. And then Buffalo is 0.8 points worse than an average team. So let's basically call both of these defenses average. But you have such a much higher ceiling here for the Bills. But Mahomes is inevitable. And one of the stats I think is quite important when we look at echo rate. So on offensive side of the ball, how often do these teams drive to the 40 or better? And when we look at echo rate for Buffalo, 59% of their drives are getting to the 40 or better. Kansas City, only 50% of their drives. But when we look at how many points they get per those quality drives, Buffalo, 5.5 points, Kansas City, 5 points per drive. So, this game can come down to one drive, and in my mind, and because Kansas City is so efficient when they do get down there, they are getting touchdowns. And quarterback wise, Mahomes 8 points added in the last 10 games. Allen 12.9. So again, another metric that favors the Bills offense here. The one thing I did think that I did not realize, and I feel kind of crazy for this, and I would love to get your guys' thoughts. When we look at tendencies, what do these teams do? Do they run? Do they pass first? Kansas City, pass first team, 4% pass rate over expected. I don't know. I guess that went over my head this whole season. This is a team that is not running the ball first. They're throwing the ball first, which is quite interesting. And then when we look at Buffalo, they are a run first team, -4% pass rate over expected. So, for me, that's something interesting. And can we see that same Kelsey game? But in my mind, I was on here last week. It was not hyperbolic. Houston very much could have won that game. They very much could have covered that game. When you look at net success rate, it came down to a couple of missed field goals and things like that and mistakes. Some calls, yes, went for Kansas City, but they capitalized on every single mistake, and it came down to a missed field goal for not covering if you had less than 9, and if you have the 9, you push. So I don't know, but you can make the same case for the Bills. If you really look at that net success rate, the Bills did not dominate that game. They generated, 2 turnovers that were insanely important, and then you had a dropped, PAT or 2-point conversion that could have tied it. So,
I mean,
I was just gonna
Small,
say, my dumb mental model is like, yeah, Bills all day, but it's obviously not that simple.
yeah. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think last weekend was one of those weird fluky situations where all of the winning teams had a negative net success rate,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is generally does not happen, right? Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, small sample size, right? You only had four games really, but still kind of
Yeah.
one of the quirky things come out of last weekend. So a lot of, to your point, turnovers, a lot of high variance type of situations that contributed. So
Yeah, but
wanna go
speaking of
back-
turnovers, though, like that's one of the things that, looking at Josh Allen, how this Buffalo team is evolving, right? I mean, we were on this podcast last year talking about Josh Allen was the favorite to win MVP and the favorite to lead the league in interceptions. And we talking about how, understanding
Yeah.
EPA and Josh being a gunslinger, and yeah, sure, he's throwing interceptions in the red zone, but those are on fourth down and longs where a check down does you no good. But looking at this year, just from a simple high point view, Josh touchdown interception ratio 28-6 this year, 29-18 last year. I mean, he's taking care of the ball. He's evolving more within this team. And I think that's what you're seeing, back to your point, Seth, about them not beating themselves all that often. And so
Yeah.
when you don't do that, you don't have to rely as much on the high variance plays. Because I think we can all agree Baltimore is the better team. I don't know if I can say the same for the Chiefs this year against Buffalo, but I think they're going to make it damn hard for them to beat them. So that's just my take.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the one interesting thing, like about the run rate and pass rate over expected, is like these kind of feels like role reversal. This Buffalo team might be a little bit more equipped to win that 19-17 game, where yes, Mahomes is inevitable, but if it has to come down to a throw this season, they've had some crazy outcomes, on high leverage one play games. I mean, how many games did they win by one possession? I don't know.
Right.
If you're a Bills fan, I think there's a lot to believe here, and but you've been here before. Mahomes has done it.
we
to you
all have,
before.
unfortunately. Yeah, right.
And if honestly, that's what's driving these numbers. Like, you only get this number of pick'em because you throw Mahomes in there as a variable, and whatever his stats are, what they are, yes, you throw those in there as well. But like, Mahomes is just adding all of this cover probability and win probability because he's just literally inevitable.
Right. I don't feel as good or strongly about it as in the first game, but I was also looking at an angle with Allen's rush attempts. 9.5 is the line currently. Okay, and I mentioned Jaden Daniels is number 1 in EPA generated when on scramble plays. Number 2, Josh Allen. And I couldn't quite find any like kind of defensive schematic trend type stuff to kind of support this Allen angle.
Yeah.
But even money at BetMGM plus 100, over 9.5 rushing attempts.
What is there EV on that, or is that just like well priced? Like, it's priced even?
It's priced even, just a kind of a good, relatively, it's about
Eric,
3% better than market.
Can we pull up the pass variance and the defensive and this one, yeah, exactly. Kansas City. Okay, so Kansas City is kind of like better than average rush, but basically average pass. So yeah, I mean,
yeah. I mean, I don't know about that number is just like begging me to take it. It feels like, and I can't.
I mean, what's the angle here? I mean, the angle is that he's going to do whatever he needs to do to get the first downs. And
yeah, the angle is what was the pass rate over expected? -4. What did we say?
-4%.
Yeah, -4%. Cold weather game. Tush push.
No, they are a run first team. I think they mostly,
kind of these unquantifiable variables.
How many rushes? How many rush attempts?
9.5. 9.5.
His median is 7.7. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, like I said, don't feel
I think he
as
has
strongly
big time
about it.
rushes. I don't know about the numbers, but the rushes do seem to come in a big spot. I think that's why that feels good. But listen, you ask any Buffalo fan, they're going to tell you who's the best running back in the league. Josh Allen.
Sure. Yeah. Speaking just kind of along those lines though too, Seth, since you mentioned it for the other game. So we mentioned the total on that one, but for this one opened at 49. It looks like it's down a little bit to 47.5, mostly in the market. Do you have in front of you what the
we made it 47. So no
47.
Value. Yeah, we're right on that current new number. Weather's a little tricky here because it's going to be balls cold. And then wind is really important for total models. So, you're whatever 6 days out. So I don't, this is something I've been building, and we take weather and wind into it. But I imagine Kansas City has some variability around this time of year, how windy it can get. So as of right now, no value on that play.
Okay, sounds good. And
if you can get a 2.5, so 2.5 becomes the tipping point. Plus 2.5 Buffalo, that's when you get some real value and you can start to chug away. I don't think we get there, but if you want to be a Buffalo backer and you want to have expected value, 2.5 I think is the number you got to hit.
Okay, all right. Anything else? I got a couple of quick things I want to run by you guys, but anything else for this matchup specifically?
No, go Buffalo.
Okay. Go the Bills. All right, let's do it. All right, so most of the rec books especially have these hypothetical matchup and lines available, right, for the Super Bowl look ahead.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So wanted to get your guys' thoughts real quick on who we expect to advance, number one and number two, just kind of what these what these lines say. So if the Bills win and the Commanders win, okay, the line would be -4.5 Bills. Total 53.5. Feels, because where's the New Orleans, right? Is the Super Bowl?
Yeah, New Orleans.
Yeah. Okay. So Commanders would be dogs either way, 4.5 against the Bills or the Chiefs, which I find interesting. So same number there. And then if the Eagles were to win, they would be dogs against KC by 1.5 points, as well as dogs against Buffalo 1.5 points.
I mean, that math, they're just using a market rating.
Sure. But so just kind of hearing, just as to maybe to try to sway your brain somewhat to an extent, like what are you guys' takes on who wins these weekends? Who wins this weekend?
This weekend.
Yeah.
I'll take Eagles Bills.
Okay. Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I think Commanders Bills.
Commanders Bills.
I think Commanders Bills.
This podcast always says Chiefs inevitable, and we neither. Please tell me you're taking the Chiefs, Kevin. just for credibility, someone's
just to save face, right? Yeah, Mahomes is inevitable, but yeah, I feel like we're gonna have a rematch of a couple years ago.
Ooh, 2 years
Chiefs
ago.
Eagles. Right, that was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah, so go Birds, baby. Yeah, I think Mahomes ends up being inevitable again. I don't know the three-peat though. God, that's so crazy to think about that they're on the doorstep of that. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see, but I hope the Bills win, kind of like you guys. But I think I just don't. I cannot put my money where my mouth is. I'm not brave enough to bet Bills, frankly.
I have to say again, if Washington beats the Eagles, what is Buffalo? 51% defensive equal rate. Like these teams that allow, like you can have good, defensive numbers, but when you allow these successful drives, that seems to be the tipping point for Washington's success. And I would be shitting bricks if I was a Buffalo fan. I'd rather honestly play Philly.
Yeah.
They seem like a more linear team that I can beat. I can try to ground and pound and potentially, stop Saquon, and I think I can win that game. I don't know what my game plan is if I have to play Washington. It's like, oh yeah, just be a really good defense. This isn't really Buffalo's super strength. It's being really efficient offensively.
Right. Yeah. That would be just like the kind of the wet dream football fan matchup. Bills Commanders, I think, but we'll see, man. We'll see.
It should be America wants. Come on.
America wanted Detroit, Buffalo. And
that's what we got left. Yeah. Come on, script writers. Do us a solid one.